In this video, Freddie and I are going to show you how we level out our bed in our RAV4 because the back of this car does not lay flat like the Matrix did. In the Matrix, when the seats were folded forward, the back was completely level. Not so in the RAV4, but we figured out a really simple way to fix that. This hump here is what covers the space between the backs of the seats and the cargo area. This whole area here is quite a bit higher than that area back there. After many home improvement projects, and we're still not done yet, we have a lot of scrap wood in our basement. And I grabbed this piece of plywood. It's the full 4-foot width of a piece of plywood. It's maybe 1.5 feet wide, which was wide enough to go under my bed. I didn't really need anything wider. And I grabbed this piece of 2x3, which I also didn't have to cut because it's just a piece of scrap that I happened to find. I took this piece of plywood and I slipped it under the bed. And I added this piece of 2x3 to the bottom here so that it was the right height and lifted the bottom of the bed up. That's all it needed, was a little bit of lift. So there are the 3 sofa cushions on the plywood, which is also on top of that piece of 2x3. And if you look, you can see it's pretty much level. And the bonus was that it also allowed me to have a table out the back of my car that I could put my stove on and prepare my coffee and meals if I didn't have a picnic table. I'll show you how that works. So all you do is you pull the piece of plywood out. Far enough out to be able to hold your stove. The bed holds the plywood from tipping, if that makes sense. And I take the piece of wood here that's the support and I put it right at the back here. So that makes the balancing point further back this way, and it makes it so that I can put my stove and everything on here safely. When this has bedding on it and everything, it's a lot heavier with the pillows and the blankets and sheets and all that stuff. And I also usually am taking stuff from this side of the car and putting it on my bed when I'm cooking. So that adds to the weight and counterbalances any weight that I put on this table. This worked really, really well for the 3 weeks that I was car camping. I didn't have to take another table with me. I didn't have to rely on having a picnic table or cooking on the ground. This was really, really handy. Then I came up with an idea of having a leg underneath it that I could pull the table out further. I was thinking of maybe a hinge with this piece of wood here hinged on the bottom somehow so that it would just, stand up and hold up the table, but it wasn't going to be long enough to reach the ground. So I ran it by my husband and he came up with an even better idea. So this is the same piece of plywood, but on the other side now is one of these camper table supports. I think they only use these in the older campers. Honey has one for the table in her. It's got one of these underneath the table, and then it's got one on the floor. You put a metal pole in between the two of them, and the table stands up on just the one pedestal. We had an old table from a trailer that we use for storage now, and had saved this piece from the table. So we put this on the back of the table, or the bed support, which is now going to be a table too, and also cut down a 2x4 to about a 2x2, maybe a 2x1.5. That goes into the bottom, like so, and then it extends out the back. So now my table can extend out further, and I can actually sit at this little table, and I could work on my computer, or I could eat my meals. I can actually pull my chair up here and sit at this table, which is really kind of cool. I don't want to pull it out too far because it starts to get a little bit wobbly being on one leg, and it needs to have the bed on top of it to really stabilize it. And if you pull it out too far, it's losing more and more of the weight of the bed that is keeping it stable. This is about as far as I would pull it out, but that's plenty of room to prepare a meal, to sit and work on my computer. And this thing now is about the same height as this piece of wood. So this now holds up the bottom of the bed. This is going to work so well and is just making it that much easier to use my car as a car camper. I'm really thrilled with this. I just love this and I can't wait to use it. If you found this video helpful, make sure you give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more RVing and car camping tips, tricks, and trips. Bye.